In the studio with us this morning is Patrick Daniel, the CEO of SPH Media Trust. Patrick, good morning. Thanks for taking the time to join us.
Good morning.
Very interesting because you were my ex-boss and now you are my boss again. You had a short stint of retirement and now you're back at work. First question, what's going to happen to the golf game, man?
Let me just say that I'm just the interim CEO.
Right.
They needed somebody to oversee the transition. So I agreed to come on board. But, I hope that there will be a younger CEO who'll come on board and take it forward.
Yeah. Well, it's all about renewal, but it doesn't necessarily always have to do with age, right? Because we embrace people of all ages. But thanks for putting that in perspective for us. Satisfied with that answer, Elliott?
Yeah. So I'll be back on the golf course.
You'll be back on the green.
I hope to be. Yeah.
Okay, so let's get down to it, Patrick. After much debate over the past 5 months, shareholders of SPH, as we mentioned, voted in favour for proposed restructuring, which will result in the group's media business being transferred to a CLG, Company Limited by Guarantee. Can you break this CLG structure down for us? Because I think when the term first started surfacing in media reports, a lot of people started Googling, researching. Just break it down for us simply here. What does it really mean?
Sure. Let me start by just saying that, this is really the start of an important new chapter for SPH Media. And we're very happy that shareholders of SPH voted agreed to spin off the media business into a CLG. So let me explain what a CLG essentially is. But I should start first by saying what a listed company is, what we are now. There are just two elements to it which are important. One is a listed company has shareholders who've invested their money in the company. And in return for that investment, they expect dividends. They would like to see their share price go up. So it is an investment in the company. And a listed company is essentially, because they have to give dividends to the shareholders and give them a return, they are profit driven.
Okay.
That's profit driven and shareholders. A CLG doesn't have shareholders. What it has is members. And what brings the members together? They share a common purpose. That's a CLG. And they are run as a commercial operation. It's not as if they are a charity. They run a commercial operation. But whatever profits they make, they reinvest in the CLG, in the company, to achieve that common purpose. So the essential difference is that a listed company is profit-driven, a CLG is purpose-driven. It doesn't have to pay dividends to the members.
So we call ourselves not-for-profit.
Not-for-profit.
Right.
You talked about purpose. What would be done to guard against any of these members trying to sort of overpower the purpose with their own individual agendas?
I don't think that's a serious concern. They are members. They don't run the business. There's a board. They are just the members who set it up. They then appoint a board. So there will be a board of the CLG. The chair will be Mr. Korbunwan. And there will be a management. So the members don't really have any channel to kind of insert themselves and try to push their own agenda.
Right. So there's obviously governance involved here as well.
Of course,
and that needs to be kept going.
For sure. Yeah. There will be proper governance.
You've seen a lot of the evolution of SPH. You've been with the company for a very long time. And now here we are for a couple of months faced with a sort of uncertainty. What's going to happen next? Yet the vote we saw on Friday must have really pushed up that confidence level in the plans moving forward. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that we were happy with the vote. Obviously, the shareholders who voted saw the logic of what we were proposing, what SPH was proposing to do, and supported it. So we are delighted that the transition will happen. So come 1st of December, the SPH Media Trust will take over the running of SPH Media businesses.
Perhaps you could talk us through this transition. What exactly will it entail? What are the priorities now in terms of getting this going?
Okay. I think the first thing that we did, led by Mr. Kaur, the chairman, was to be clear about that purpose that I talked about. What are the purpose, of the members who set up the CLG? And the purpose is actually quite simple. We want to be the trusted source of news on Singapore and Asia. And this question of trust is central to what we want, to our purpose. It's why it's called the Singapore Media Trust. We chose that name, And what we want to be is we want to produce credible, accurate, impartial news and analysis, always with a view to upholding the public good. So we now see, the purpose is, we see being a trusted source of news as a public good. We're not there to make a profit out of it, but we want to do that public good. So that is the purpose, and we want to, and all our plans are guided by that purpose. Yeah. So essentially, as I said, producing quality, accurate news in this day and age of digital disruption, of social media. There's a deluge of misinformation, and being that beacon of accurate news, is really what we want to achieve.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the issue of trust, because we're going to go for a quick traffic break. But when we continue this conversation, we're going to dive into the details of how SPH can continue to be a trusted and essential news source. In the studio with us this morning is Patrick Daniel, the CEO of SPH Media Trust. Money FM 89.3. Good morning. It's the Breakfast Huddle. Elliott Danker, Bharati, Jagdish, and Ryan Huang. Today on Mind Your Business, we have Patrick Daniel, the CEO of SPH Media Trust, in the studio with us. It's time to talk about how SPH can continue to be a trusted and essential news source. And like I mentioned earlier on, you've seen the evolution of SPH. In your opinion, your perspective, what is SPH Media's greatest strength?
I would say the people that we have, Actually, I've been a newspaper editor for a long time. The formula is actually quite simple. If you have a good editor and good journalists, you've got a good product. It's as simple as that. It's the same for a radio station. It's the same everywhere. Mm-hmm. It's do you have talented people who share the purpose, people of integrity? So I think that's SPH's greatest strength.
But the thing is, Patrick, as the print platforms decline, accelerates, and a lack of investment in digital media and newsrooms in terms of operations, so on and so forth, lower circulation rates, lower subscription rates, I think even the best journalists are struggling to make it all work. So what really is the plan ahead to ensure that while you have the best talent, while you have individuals who can deliver the work, there are actually people out there who are taking to the work, who are actually subscribing to the various media that we have on hand?
Let me give you a little bit of a long answer to that.
I think that deserves a long answer. Right?
Because I mentioned just now about being profit-driven as a listed company and being purpose-driven as a company limited by guarantee. Now, it's not as if listed companies don't have a purpose. Many of them have a purpose as well, right? They all have mission statements. The problem comes when you are not profitable. Then what? So when you have a listed company that suddenly hits, a bump and they get hit by digital disruption and they're not profitable, what happens is they have to cut costs. They have to reduce the investments they're making in the business in order to return to profitability. Being a company limited by guarantee now, that profit-driven motive has been put aside.
Okay.
And we want to be purpose-driven. Now, that is so important because what's happened is, and the reason why SPH decided that, listen, we have to change the structure is because you can't just keep cutting costs. As you keep cutting costs, and they've said that at the EGM, they told shareholders, we can't keep cutting costs because at some point the quality of your product, the quality of your journalism will be impacted, and you can't keep investing. And this is a business where technology is changing all the time. You just got to keep up to date with your technology. So changing the structure was the key first step. If you don't do that, our journalists, our talent will be, attrited down. So we want to stop that first. Now that we are purpose-driven and we don't have that millstone of making sure that we're profitable, and we have support from the government through government funding for capability development, we can get down to business. We can rebuild. We want to make sure that we draw back the talent, some of the talent that we lost, and rebuild. And once we do that, I think we're on a firm footing to go ahead.
Right, the audiences will come back.
Yes.
It's a very good way of putting it, and I want to segue to this next part where, very word on the street, very water cooler talk. Things that we were saying was, hey, pressure's off. I mean, there's no such thing as pressure's off. There's always pressure. What does that mean in terms of retaining the talent that we have?
Okay. The important thing is to remember that although we are a not-for-profit, we're not a non-profit, but never mind, it's a small distinction, but not-for-profit is how we want to describe it. Not-for-profit meaning the profit is not for the shareholders, but we are run as a commercial organization.
Right.
We have to attract talent. We have to pay market wages. You want talent, you've got to pay decent wages, So I think that will change.
Okay.
Because when you're in a cost-cutting mode, you've got to return to profitability. You trim as much as you can, Inevitably, you hit the bone.
Right.
You cut to the bone. So we want to kind of bring back, the talent that we have, build some muscle, a bit of fat maybe even, and bulk up the organization and get the talent that we have.
That's why we can afford Bharati now.
Of course. Yes. So we want more Bharatis to come and join us. No, seriously.
Very flattering. Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate that. Yeah.
And those who share our purpose, of being a trusted source of news and being sort of proud to be the one that is producing, the accurate news.
I want to go back to what Elliott mentioned.
We want them to come join us. That's what I wanted to say. Yes.
Okay, so that's actually a powerful statement, and I'm sorry I overlapped on that again. And you can repeat it if you want.
No, that's okay.
And I think that's a powerful message to people who've been considering entering the media scene for quite some time now. Elliott started that question to you by saying the water cooler talk is that the pressure is off. But actually, purpose comes with a lot of responsibility, hence a different type of pressure, right?
Oh, of course, of course. And you see, although we're a CLG, we have to be financially viable. We want to be a sustainable outfit. Okay, so if you want to be sustainable, you've got to run a tight ship. You've got to make sure that your products are people are prepared to pay for your products. So you've got to produce good products. So the pressure is not off in that sense. It's just that we don't have to drive daily for profit and cut our costs, stop our investments, just so that we can have profit for shareholders. The pressure is off from shareholders. That's the important point. But as CEO, I have to make sure that we are, financially viable.
Yeah, and fulfilling the higher purpose of our existence.
Yes, of course.
We talked earlier about the newspaper business, but we all know that any media organization worth its salt is moving into digital. And in fact, SPH already has. But I'm sure there are plans to move further in this direction. Tell us more about that.
Absolutely. We have to move further. We have to make investments in technology. And that's where one of the two areas I mentioned just now, talent. The other area is technology. We want to invest in both of that, talent and technology. And the technology that we have to invest in is going to be in the digital space. we've got to put in a lot more effort and money into turning and becoming digitally driven. So that's the first thing that we do. Put out the news on digital formats, quick, fast, accurate, and good quality. So for sure, being more digital is number one priority for us.
To wrap up, coffee shop talk and word on the street, even a survey has found that SPH newspapers continue to be perceived as reliable, relevant, and a one-stop for news and entertainment. So we've kept that reputation up. When SPH decided to buy radio stations, invest in radio stations, people are saying, what does a newspaper know about running a radio station? We've proven ourselves so many years on. What would you say as a final word to the constant evolution of SPH Media?
What would I say? I think we want to be on all channels, as many channels as we can. We want to reach out to audiences through all channels. We tried television, that didn't work out, but, so we won't go into time, but there's still all other medias. There's digital media, there's radio, there's outdoor media, there's, all channels. And we want to reach our audience, and we want to also, for our commercial partners, our advertisers, etc., we want to serve them solutions across all channels, So it's quite important that we be more than just a newspaper company. We want to be a newspaper company, we want to be a digital company, we want to have radio stations, we want to have websites, apps, outdoor media, and we want to serve our audience and serve our advertisers on all these channels. And we're fairly confident that with the pressure off from shareholders, we have what it takes to achieve this.
You mentioned television briefly,
yes.
And it is true. I think everyone remembers that SPH did try going into that. It didn't work out, pulled out. I think one of the biggest issues then was that, is there a big enough market for all of these channels, whether it's TV or digital or otherwise?
Sure.
But we have to also bear in mind that when it comes to online media, if we're talking digital, we're not talking just a local audience. We're talking a much larger catchment, aren't we? We're talking international.
Absolutely. The beauty of the digital media, although we are being disrupted, is that it just opens up the globe. We can reach Singaporeans everywhere. We can reach those who want to know about Singapore through our digital channels. So it's a wonderful thing.
By the way, we're not just on the FM dial, yeah? Money FM is also on the audio app, and you can listen to us online. So we essentially have the potential for an international reach as well.
Safe to say, the best is yet to come. We've been speaking with Patrick Daniel, the CEO of SPH Media Trust. Thank you so much for your time this morning. Take care and stay safe.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, wonderful to be here.
Money FM 89.